Hey guys, and welcome to another Q&A Monday video. In this video I try to answer as many of your questions as I can in as much detail as possible, but I get so many questions every single day that I just can't answer them all. So if I don't get to your question in this video, don't worry, I might get to it in the next one. If not, just drop it down in the comments and I'll answer it as soon as I can. So without further ado, let's jump into the first question. Patrick asks, do you believe that Anna and Daniel have always been around? Or do you think they got attached to you during one of your investigations or EVP sessions? No, I don't think they've always been around, to be honest. I think, well, Daniel could have been, just because he's kind of got that protector spirit vibe to him. It's possible that he's been around but maybe just not been needed and therefore hasn't been on the forefront of things. But as for Anna, I'm almost certain that she's not always been around, just because she didn't really show up until we moved to this house. And my thinking is that she was probably local to the area, and then when I've moved in and started doing my communication sessions and my investigations and things like that, that she's saw her opportunity to move in and get that closure, if you know what I mean. So no, I don't think they've always been around, but Daniel's kind of could have gone either way. Lisa asks, do you ever dream of any of these spirits? Now, I'm not very good with my dreams, to be honest. Like, I very rarely remember them, but there has been a number of occasions where I'd be 95% positive that I have seen Anna, and this is just Anna as I think she would look. Obviously, I can't verify it. I don't know what she looked like in life, but there was once during a meditation experiment that I told you, I saw a woman in my mind, and she was like wearing a wide-brimmed hat, puffed out dress, you know, just 1800s garb. Well, it's this woman that I've seen, and I can see her vividly, like in my mind. I remember it quite clearly. She wasn't a part of the dream. Like, the scene was just going about doing its own thing. I was interacting with whoever, but she was just kind of off in the distance. And it wasn't until I woke up that I realized how odd that was, that there's a woman in 1800s garb just stood in the distance. And it's only thinking about it afterwards that I then realized maybe that was Anna, like, visiting in some way. Now, it's strange to me that she wouldn't interact, because if you're going to visit me in a dream, surely there's a reason for it. Or maybe it's just that she's letting me know she is still around and that she is still open to that communication, whether she can do it through a dream or not. I don't know. I'm not really a dream expert. Like I say, I'm terrible with them. I very rarely remember. But maybe some of you guys have an idea as to what that means, and you can give me some kind of insight. Syphilis Grandma 69 asks, excellent name by the way, has your girlfriend ever experienced anything paranormal in the house on her own, or do things only happen when you're there? Now, I'll make a habit of not really answering too many questions about Shauna, because as I've said before, she doesn't want to be a part of the video. She wants to be kept separate from it. But I have talked to her and she's happy for me to share this small experience with you. Now, I know that you wonder if paranormal activity happens when I'm not here, and I guess it's because obviously they're attached to me, but it's not attached to me in the sense that they're like tethered to me, like if I go to work they're gonna follow me there or anything like that. It's more a matter of, if I move house, they will move in with me, if you know what I mean. That's kind of how it feels. I know it sounds daft, but that's kind of how it feels. And it's not instant. It's like, if I go away, it might be a month or two before I start to notice anything sort of happening. And it's kind of, if I go on holiday for a week, they don't follow me. There's no need for them to do that because I'm coming back. And so they just sort of, they do whatever spirits do. And then when I'm back, they can communicate from there. And so, yes, when I'm not here, things have happened around Shauna. So, for example, the other week, Shauna was sat watching TV. I was at work. She reached over to grab the remote, and the remote just kind of like shifted a little bit. Like, it didn't go flying. It was nothing as dramatic as that. It just twitched, like shifted out of the way. And obviously that scared her. It makes me nervous to this day. If something shifts unexpectedly, it's gonna scare you. You can't see what's moved it. It freaks you out. And so we've kind of got a system where we just tell them outright, look, I don't want you to do that. Like, you're not welcome. You're scaring me. I want you to stop. And they are respectful of that. Like, for the most part, it's not like you ask them to stop and they go, no, fuck you, and then start throwing things around. It's not like that. If they're moving things in front of you, something as obvious as the remote you're reaching for, they're doing it because they want attention. And so Shauna will just say, look, Michael's not home. If you want to communicate, he will be back at blah, blah time. And so from there, I can then communicate with them if I'm in the mood to do so. And so yeah, it does happen, but, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, it doesn't happen all the time. Like, I know I say this a lot, it's not like it's every night, every day. It is literally just few and far between. Super Stew asks, do you think some entities choose not to go into the light because they suffer from an addiction here on Earth? Now, I thought this was a really interesting question, really, because I've always seen spirits not going into the light because of some kind of unfinished business, or maybe they died before they were ready and they couldn't quite accept their passing, and so they weren't ready to move on to what comes next. They have to get that kind of closure. But reading this, it kind of just added another layer to that, really, because I do think it's possible that if a person had some kind of addiction here on Earth, that once they've passed, the idea of moving further away from that could be enough to stop you doing it. And I mean, the addiction could be anything. It could just be an addiction to life in general. Like, you're not ready to give that up, which I guess that kind of ties in. But there are obviously countless addiction, drugs, alcohol that could play a part in that. And the idea of crossing over and moving further and further away from whatever your addiction might be could be enough to stop you. So interesting question. Obviously, I have no definitive answers, but I do think it's possible. Shelwell asks, do you believe in any kind of afterlife besides becoming a spirit? And what do you think the spirits see? Do they see the world as we see it, or is it different to them somehow? Now, as far as the afterlife goes, as I've said before, I'm not really religious, so I don't really see heaven and hell as other people see it. I personally think the afterlife is whatever our energy becomes after it is transformed, because energy doesn't disappear, it just becomes something else. And so I think crossing over is just the energy's transition from one thing to another. Now, the idea of spirits seeing things different is something I've thought about before. Now, obviously they don't have eyes, they don't have ears, they don't have mouths, and so when they try to communicate with us and things like that, they're doing it through energy and sort of manipulation of electromagnetic fields, and you know what I mean, manipulating audio, and just it's all to do with electricity and some kind of energy source. And so I think personally, if they're seeing things, they're seeing and feeling the energy around them, like, because everything emits energy. It all has vibrations, and I think they can sense that. And so they're not hearing us like as humans do with their ears. They're sort of feeling those vibrations within whatever it is they're made up of. And as far as voices go, they don't have vocal cords to produce that voice. They have to manipulate existing sounds to create that voice. And I think the same goes for sight. I think that kind of like certain animals, they can use almost like sonar sort of vision. Like they see through hearing, if you know what I mean. Like they can feel those vibrations, and just their sight doesn't work quite like ours does. I think it is a completely different plane. Reester Egg asks, when I play your videos and you're calling out to the spirits, I wonder if potential spirit visitors in my house may hear it and think I'm calling out. Your thoughts? I mean, it's perfectly possible, don't get me wrong. Like, I have thought about this in the past, where if you're watching like a scary movie in which someone's doing some kind of ritual or what have you, is it possible that just by hearing that, other things could be encouraged to happen? Now, I would say it's possible, but I certainly wouldn't worry about it, because I do believe, like, to my core, that it is all to do with intent. So if you're watching a video of me saying if there are any spirits present, will you come forward and talk? Like, you're not like, I'm saying it with intent to the spirits near me, and they'd be able to feel that in real time. But I don't think you're letting off the same vibes, if you know what I mean. If you're just watching a video, like you're watching me do it, they can't feel my vibes through the computer because it's just a recording, if you know what I mean. I do think it's all to do with intent, so it's possible, but I think it's unlikely. Stephen asks, do you think you may have known Anna in a previous life? I think it's perfectly possible, but I don't know how much stock I really put into a previous life theory to really commit to it. Now, I do have my own reincarnation theory, and that's based on the idea that energy doesn't disappear, it just merges with other things, it transforms into something else. So what if a person's energy, their spirit, merged with a newborn child? Therefore you have some form of reincarnation. Their essence has merged with this person. So what if this person grows up to then hold memories from that previous life? that person that has merged with them at birth. And so there are stories about that to back that up. Like, people have remembered things that they never experienced and they have no knowledge of it. And so with that, I guess it's perfectly possible that I could have met Anna in a previous life, because with that idea, then most energy has been recycled at some point. And what if she's recognizing some energy within me that she knew in life, and so that's what's attracted her. So I mean, I think that's possible. Don't get me wrong, I think that's possible. And there's been some lovely stories in the comments that maybe me and Anna were lovers in past life, like a husband and wife or something, and she's found me again, and it's all a kind of tragic poetry. Like, I don't really go into that too much. I think that would be way too much of a coincidence and way too poetic to be true. But I mean, I don't write any of it off. I think it's perfectly possible that I knew her before, but without those past life memories, I just couldn't verify it. And like I say, I don't know how much stock I put in it to really commit to it. Cheryl asks, "Hi Michael, I had an incident with an apparition and it was green. It was transparent, but it was green. Do you think that apparitions are seen in different colours because of their emotions or type of energies, like the blue lady and an apparition like that? What are your thoughts?" I think spirits can show themselves in so many different forms that it's kind of hard to really be definitive about it. I think it's possible that maybe however their apparition appeared just reacted with the light and created that green look. Or on the other side of things, it could be possible that you have just seen the spirit's aura. Now, an aura is, everybody has an aura. There are certain sensitive people that can see it, and it's like a shimmering light around a person, and they can tell what kind of emotional state you're in just by looking at this light. And I think it's possible what you saw was just that particular spirit's aura. Now, I don't know enough about auras to really go in depth about it or what colour means what, but I think it's possible that even as a spirit form, you must have that kind of aura. And maybe you're just sensitive enough to have seen that when you saw this apparition. Michelle asks, "How do you react/respond when people call your videos fake or yourself a fake or a fraud?" Now, I don't really have a go-to response for people like that, to be honest. Like, if someone's took time out of their life to make a video or to come on my video and start commenting saying you're a fake, you're a fraud, this, that and the other, then they've already made up their mind. If the videos didn't work to convince them, there's nothing I can say that's going to change their mind. I know this from experience because I've argued with people in the past who've called me a fraud, and I've tried to defend myself, and to them, by defending myself, I just look more guilty. So, I mean, what's the point? I may as well just leave them to it. And now, I've said for a while now that I don't upload these videos to try and convince anybody that ghosts exist. I'm not uploading them to convince anybody that I'm real. I'm literally just sharing my experiences, and people can take from it what they want. If they want to think it's fake, then good for them. It's their life at the end of the day. Farscape asks, "How would you feel if these spirits started to become verbally threatening towards you or the ones close to you?" To be honest, that's probably one of my worst fears, is that I accidentally bring something negative into the house. And I think this is something that most investigators would worry about, especially if they do communications like I do in their own home. Now, I take precautions. I have crystals that promote positivity. We're a generally positive household. We try to keep that positive energy flowing, and I do cleansing rituals on a regular basis to force out any negative energies that are around. So if it came to a point where the spirits were becoming threatening and in any way violent towards us, then I think at that point I would just stop doing the communications. I would stop doing the investigations at home, because family safety comes first, really. Mine and Shauna's safety is top priority. I aren't gonna keep making videos and investigating if I feel in any way that we're in danger. So, like I say, it is generally one of my worst fears, and if the cleansings weren't enough, then I would probably just stop doing it. Jack asks, "Do you think that ghosts move on from haunting people to someone else if the spirit doesn't get what they need from you?" Now, obviously, I can't really verify this. I've had spirits come in and out in the past. Now, whether they had enough communication to move on with their own business, I will never really know. But what you say makes a lot of sense to me. If a spirit comes in here and I'm trying to talk to them, trying to understand what it is that they want, the spirit box isn't getting enough responses, the EVP is not clear enough, I wouldn't blame that spirit for going looking for somebody else that they could talk to, like trying to find a medium or someone. That just makes sense. It's exactly what I would do if I were trying to pass on a message and the person I was talking to just wasn't getting it. You'd look for somebody that could. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. And so that's it for this week's Q&A video, guys. I hope I answered your questions sufficiently and in enough detail. And as I said before, if I didn't get to your question in this video, don't worry. Just drop it down in the comments and I will answer it as soon as I can. So thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I'll post any and all activity as and when I get it.